I'm good. We are live. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition of the fifth round, fymta lotan, in English this time because we have a very special guest. Please give a warm round of applause at home for our guest of the week from sunny, great Doncaster, better known as Doncaster. He is the promoter, the matchmaker, and your mom's boyfriend. He is none other than the Kate Steele boss himself, Dominic Gibbs.
Well, how are you?
Yeah, very good. Are you happy with the introduction?
Yeah. There could have been a few more names in there, you know.
yeah. First of his name. Very good. Thank you for coming to the show. It's a pleasure.
No problem.
We've been to yours, so it's about time you've come to ours.
You're right, it is about time. I've been promising for 9 years, so...
Yeah. 9 years?
Yeah, I think I've been waiting for this to be built.
So it's like the Reykjavik MMA guys, they started coming to Kate Steele 9 years
10
ago.
years ago.
Yeah.
So 2014, I think Maggie fought on the show. So yeah. It was, or did they come? I think RVK set up probably 2018.
Right.
So
yeah.
they kind of came not as RVK. They set RVK up, and then obviously came from RVK, and we had a kind of a good relationship between the two of us, between Cage Steel and RVK, and they're flying every single show now. So ever since 2018, we've had an Icelandic on the show.
Right. So like before Maki came and like before he started RVK MMA, he was fighting on your show already, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know. I should have known, but
yeah, I think it was his professional debut or something.
I think it is amateur.
Oh, okay.
I think he did his amateur debut or something like that.
Really?
I think he might have done his amateur debut on a different show somewhere else. I can't remember where that was. And then that kind of ignited the scene. People started talking about actually flying abroad and competing. So then it became a thing. I think Maggie and Biathki actually started the kind of amateur MMA scene in terms of actually going out and fighting on different promotions.
yeah. And on such a regular basis, like when he started like going to Kate Steele, it's so regular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's unheard of.
Yeah, obviously from us, you know, if I give you a bit of history, back then, the scene's kind of changed a lot, and it's gone through quite a few changes, like management coming in. Management, when they first came in, it kind of dropped down a little bit because managers wanted you to put their fighters on and then pay for an opponent who was, we call it a bum in England,
Right.
a can, you know. So a terrible fighter, so they could boost their records and then eventually get them onto the UFC, and then the management gets paid. And then lots of promotions realise, well, hang on a minute, I'm paying for your guy to get his record, for you to then take him to the UFC, and then you get paid well.
Right.
Where do I get paid? You know, that was the kind of thing. But we didn't kind of concentrate on that. It just kind of dropped off a bit, and all these cans came through. And then the RVK guys got in touch. They came and fought on the show, and all of a sudden, honestly, it solved a massive problem. And the problem was we were bringing these people in to fight who were from the UK, but were terrible. They'd take a hit and they'd be on the deck,
Right.
because they wanted to fight sometimes that same day, you know, go to another show, or certainly the next day or the next week.
Right.
And these guys came in Iceland and kind of, they like, that first time they came over, they was like paying their own flights. We sorted the hotels and stuff, but it was like they landed and all of a sudden they brought this thing that's very difficult to kind of explain. It's an energy, it's a togetherness. And we went yesterday with Maggie and Biathki. They kind of showed us a few sites, and they took us to that Fly Iceland.
Fly over Iceland.
Fly over Iceland, yeah. And it gives a bit of a history thing before, and it was like a penny dropped. Like, we went the night before to RVK, and the guys were training to like football chanting. It was like the Icelandic national team football chanting. I'm like, this is mad. Like, I've never had this. Everyone's training to 50 Cent, you know?
Yeah.
And then these guys are training, and there's this togetherness.
Right. Yeah.
And they did this history thing, you know, there's a guy there who's telling you about the history of Iceland. And he talks about how everyone had to be together to survive.
Right.
And that they had to come to one house and share a log fire, and that it made them tough and strong. And I was like, that's it. It's when I'm saying this thing, this thing is easily described. It's being Icelandic. Seriously, you have got something amazing here. Like the people, the togetherness, the way that they come over, the strength that you've got is it's incredible to be part of, because you can feel the energy, and everyone's so nice. You know, everyone comes over and they're so good and such fun. You know, RVK was such fun the night before. But when we did that history class, the thing that they brought, it was the Icelandic, and you landed. That was it.
Right.
And you filled this hole of these bums, these cans, and we didn't have to go to them anymore. We could come to Icelandic fighters, and they would bring someone in who not only filled the gap, but competed at a great level. You know, you guys, the MMA training and the scene in Iceland, from what I've experienced, some incredible fighters. Some incredible fighters. You should be proud of everything. You should be proud of yourselves as a nation, but also as a kind of MMA group. I've got nothing but respect. Sometimes, you know, we've had in the past where some people say that we're what is it that we're favouring the Icelandics. It's like, mate, how am I favouring someone that flies 2.5 hours here? Has to stay in a room that's not their house. Like, you can stay in your house until Saturday and travel over. All I try to do is keep an independence. So I want to kind of make it as even as possible. So you guys fly in. We want to make we'll do the ground transfers. We'll send someone over, pick the guys up from the airport, bring them to their digs, make sure that they've got everything that they need, and make the stay as best as they can to kind of even the odds, because I want a great fight. And the way I talk about the scene is the fighters, the promoters, the managers, like you guys, media, we have to coexist. The only thing that matters are the fans, are the paying public. They're the only ones that matter. And as long as we hold that, then together we'll do something that's entertaining. And it is gladiatorial. Are you not entertained?
Very entertained.
Sorry, I spoke a lot then.
It was like, yes, you did. No, it's good. But like, coming to your show, it's like I've always, like, I wouldn't say that you favor anyone over another, but when it comes to like a close decision or something, I don't get this feeling of nervousness. It's like, oh, they're gonna give it to the Englishmen. Like, right. It feels kind of like you're on like a neutral turf, right? So
the officials that we bring in, there was a time when I'd phone people up and say, oh, do you want a ref? Do you want a judge? And we bring people in. And what I realised was a lot of these people sat cage side were training with these people in the cage.
Right.
And I was like, right, okay, this isn't quite right.
No.
So I went to a company and said, look, I want you to provide my officials. I want it where it's totally independent, where if there's a bad decision, I can kind of come to you as an organisation and say, why was that? So now, that's how it is. That most of the judges and the refs come from Surrey, down south in England. So they've got like a 3-4 hour drive. So we put them up in hotels. It costs me way more money to do it like this, way more. Yeah. But what I want is for someone who flies in, a foreign fighter, as you call. Yeah. I like to say international rather than foreign. Oh, right. But people do say the foreign fighters. It's like the international fighters you've flown in. I want you to be thinking, actually, we're going to get a fair result. And listen, it's a fight game. It's an opinion. Yeah. There'll always be decisions that are deemed not, there's always someone's not happy, are they? And we've got a typical one. Alcon, he's 2 years ago had a decision against a kid called Jack Stevenson, and Jack's fans and Jack, and they literally do not accept that decision was right, and they put it everywhere on social media, and we always get the blame. But I take the blame. Accountability is that they're the officials that I employ. I expect independence, and if I wasn't getting independence, then I'd be asking questions of that organisation. But it's a fight game, so
Talking about the officials and stuff, it's like it might be bad memories, but when Will Bean fought Hrafn Þráinsson and the ref made a mistake on the clock.
Yeah.
How did that go? Like, do you what's the process? Like, do you just you hire some independent company?
Yep.
They take responsibility for it, or
Yep. So obviously, I'll tell you what happened. So we had amateur fights and professional fights.
Right.
Now, what we do is we kind of mix them up through the night. So what we don't do is a lot of like boxing promotions, for instance, the Tyson Fury one last night, they kind of build up to the main event. And we like to, what we call like a bell curve. Right. So we'll kind of put fights on and lead to a main event and then bring it off and kind of taper it out. But through the night, we want to put great fights on it. And it's getting really difficult now because there's so many great fights.
Right.
The kind of levels have changed with everything. So we've split them up. Now, we'd given a precise format. My team, I checked my team. We gave a precise format that this fight is an amateur fight. It's 3 minutes, 3 times 3. This is a professional fight. It's 3 times 5. The timekeeper, he made a mistake, right? We're human. He made a mistake. I can live with mistakes when people say, I made the mistake and they apologize for it. Yeah. He kept the clock running for a professional fight.
Right.
So it went over the 3 minutes. Obviously, the decision, the kind of tap out happened after. And, oh, my word, it was absolute chaos. I think the officials did what they had to do. They basically came in the cage and said, look, this is a no contest. So we end it right here. But they did say to the coaches, look, it's a no contest anyway. It's an amateur fight. I think they should fight on because they're getting experience. You're here. Why not get an extra round out of it or what have you? So I kind of left it with the coaches and just said, look, at the end of the day, if someone gets a win, just complain. And it'll be classed as a no contest anyway. And obviously that's what happened. We declared it a no contest.
But they did say beforehand, it was a no contest. Like, it's a no contest, but do you want to fight on?
Yeah.
That's what they said.
Yeah, they accepted the kind of... They knew it would be declared a no contest, but because it's an amateur fight, they were like, why not get the experience in?
Yeah.
You're already in the cage.
Yeah.
You've flown over. You've done your weight cut. You're here. You may as well just do an extra round. If you lose, just complain and get the no contest. So it's a no contest anyway. So at that point, to kind of go on what's the process. I had people in the crowd who were saying, you need to go over there and you need to sack that guy. You need to show him who's boy. You need to sack him on the spot. And I'm like, that's not who I am.
No.
Like, I'm not this kind of egomaniac, I'm not this, I'm going to go over and I'm going to sack him and let people see me sack him. It's like, we're human. How many mistakes have we all made in life? And it's, when you look at it, quite easy to make. We've put processes in where they can't. There's a check now, so they can't make that mistake. They're not left to their own thing. But I just spoke to the company and said, what we're saying. They just said, look, we'll kind of step him out for a bit. We'll do some other. They'll do some like training stuff with him, and that's as much as you can do, really. Thankfully it was an amateur fight, not kind of a pro title fight or a world title fight or anything like that. So
exactly.
It kind of happened in the best, if you can have a best circumstance. and we put things in place to mitigate that. I can't say it'll never happen again.
No.
Because people are human and we're infallible. So yeah.
You probably feel very bad about it.
Oh yeah, the kid was devastated. Like, you could tell the lad could not apologize enough. He was devastated, and I just think that anyone who then goes in with a sword and chops their head off, sacked, and showing their power. I just think you're not a human being.
Yeah, that's not right.
I don't feel it's right. Other people will have a different view, but I'm not about crushing someone when they've made a mistake and they know they've made a mistake and they're apologetic for it. And I'm sure that lad will never make that mistake again.
Oh, he's probably going to check 3 times from now on.
So I live off this theory. I always forget which company it was. It was either someone like Microsoft or IBM. I think it was IBM. So the story goes that there was a guy there who was working, paid a lot of money. He made a mistake that cost IBM $5 million. So he went to the head guy, gave him a letter, and the guy said, "What's this?" He said, "It's my resignation. You'll want my resignation. It's $5 million mistake." And the guy said, "Would you ever make that mistake again?" He's like, "No chance." He's like, "So would you do everything you could to kind of make that 5 million right?" "Absolutely." "So if I got rid of you and got someone else, could they make that mistake?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Then why would I get rid of you? I've spent $5 million training you." and that's my kind of ethos on this, The kid, I don't think the kid will make that mistake again.
No.
I ain't seen him at a show. The officials haven't brought him back to our show. They've used other people. But that's up to them. I employ them to do that job.
Right. That sounds about right. So I've we touched on it a little bit before. I heard from other promotions that taking in international fighters, such as Icelandic fighters, is bad for ticket sales and they don't generate revenue. Is that correct? Or
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But in your case, you think okay, but if I take in the Icelandic fighters, then I get to get rid of the bums and the cans and make a better show. That's also right.
There are 2 types of shows. There's a show that put loads of fights on and get the fighters selling tickets and they're looking at the income-generated show.
Right.
Or this cage deal. And I don't do the things, I don't make the decisions based on monetary decisions. I do it based on what's best for the fans. It's up to us to sell those tickets. It's up to us to generate that. We've had it in the past where we've had 8 Icelandics on. And yeah, that hurt us, in terms of ticket sales. So we need to get that balance right because we've kind of changed a lot in terms of we used to just be about the audience in the arena, but we did some work with some production people and we looked at the live stream stuff. We used to be a live show that had a stream, and you literally bolt this stream onto the side of your show and it runs, and when there's no fights on, there's a Cage Steel logo bounces around. It's really pathetic and horrible to anyone watching. And you're asking people to pay 10, 15 quid for it. And it's just not worth the money they're paying. So I kind of looked at that and thought, well, the only way to kind of grow the business, you can put 2,000 people in the dome, but you can't put 2,001. You can't put 10,000. So the only way to grow is through a pay-per-view kind of audience. So what we need to do is we need to become a TV show with a live audience. And that's what we've kind of geared up to do. Just subtle little things like it's a 3-sided arena. There's one side that's just black at the back, and our MC used to stand at the back facing the crowd so he could see the crowd. But we changed so that he now, obviously there's nothing behind him, so from a TV point of view, it's terrible, he's just against a black curtain. So we spun him round. He no longer speaks to the crowd, he speaks to the camera. The crowd are there for the atmosphere, and the camera can now see the crowd. So just little subtle things like that. There's lots and lots of kind of examples I can give you. But we changed to be a TV show with a live audience. And that's where we've got to go, because if you can do that, you can push sales yourself, and then you can have international fighters, and then you're getting the better fights. So promotions at the minute, obviously you've got to pay your bills. So there is a balance, and some promotions that it's difficult at times. Everything's gone up. Everyone's talking about cost of living, inflation, but everything in the events industry, the event space, the food, the lighting, the audio, the ref, everything's gone up.
Yeah.
So everyone's trying to kind of pay their bills. So you got to get that balance right in terms of ticket sales, but also, make sure that your pay-per-view audience are getting a good pay-per-view. And we've made mistakes on that, and some of them, like when it comes technical, it drives me mad. When someone's messing, like the stream's gone down, I'm talking to the streaming company and talking to the production company, and they go, it's him. I can never get a straight answer, and that drives me crazy because we when that's happened bad in the past, we've give free pay-per-views to our next show, and we'll take the hit on it because we want to build this audience. We want people to support Cage Steel. It's important to us that they understand that we value their support above everything. As I said to you before, everyone has to coexist because they're the only thing that matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting approach to say I'm making a TV show with a live audience versus I'm just putting on like a MMA fights, on venue. It's interesting, like different áherslur.
It's a different flow, different spin.
Yeah, different spin. Yeah, that's what the word I'm looking for. Yeah. It's interesting. So, like, how many countries is Cage Steel being shown in or being broadcasted to?
So, I don't have the exact number, but we are broadcast across the world.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there are some countries that we have no interaction with whatsoever, and some countries where, like Iceland, where we have a good interaction, and then some that are really weird. Like, we obviously understand why we get a good fan base pay-per-view in Iceland. We've got Icelandic fighters on.
Yeah.
But explain to me why there's this little pocket in Mexico. I just don't understand it. And there's a little, like different parts of America. I can only put it down to when, I think it was when COVID was the horrible C word, when that was on, we did it behind the closed doors, behind, like, no fans. And I stayed up all night to go on an American podcast. And the podcasters were in different parts of the US. And I think one of those was in Mexico. And that's the only track that I can get it down to. So, yeah, you have these little anomalies. Like, you understand. We put fighters on from Denmark. We get a bit of a base. We put them on. We've got a bit of a base from an American fight we did, from Icelandic fights. We kind of push it in those areas. We understand where those viewing figures come from. But there are anomalies that we just go, how?
It's like one pocket in Mexico.
Yeah.
Must be the fighting spirit or something.
Yeah, they have got fight spirit. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's crazy. So you don't know, like, the number of countries about
I will have to get that, the exact number of countries that we're in. There is quite a lot.
Yeah.
We are in lots of countries now. And okay, some of the countries, the viewing figures are 100 or so. But I'm still claiming it.
Of course. So you did put up a show in COVID, like, with just behind closed doors, no audience.
Yeah.
Because you're running a TV show, so it's like you just have to sell the pay-per-view. So
yeah, it was the hardest show I've done, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was the number of hoops that we had to jump through. Do you understand? Like, the number of regulations.
Yeah.
The police and the local council were just horrendous. Like, the things they were asking us to do. Fighters had to get warmed up in a gazebo outside in the car park.
The gazebo.
So, do you know what a gazebo is?
No.
It's like a little pop-up tent thing.
Yeah, okay.
With like sides on.
Yeah,
It's freezing. It started snowing. Oh, we're in Iceland.
So you had to warm up in a gazebo.
Yeah.
It's like a inflatable igloo.
It's like a steel kind of structure, but it pops up.
Right.
It like pops up and creates this like tent thing.
Okay.
So what we had to do was everyone had to sit in bubbles. So the teams had to turn up. They had to get given a test through their car window, drive off, take the test, come back, hand the tests in. Once they were passed, they got put in their gazebos, in their bubbles, and then they could only enter the arena when there was kind of fighting, and then they had to exit a different way. And
That's crazy.
Honestly, I mean, my views of COVID, I don't think you want to get into on here because I'm very conspiratorial in terms of COVID.
Now let's get into
Let's
it.
get into it.
Okay.
When somebody says, I don't want to get into
Yeah.
it, you really want to get into it. So,
It was a massive con.
Yeah.
Like, it was the worst con I've ever known in my lifetime. It was crazy. Like, at first, I kind of bought out, you know, we were given all these images, people dying. They were dropping dead in the street. It was like, what? My mum at the time would have been 89 years old. So I was kind of worried for my mum. But my mum's tough. I think she could have been Icelandic. Like, she's that tough. So I phoned her up one day and I said, she's like, no, she phoned me. Sorry, she phoned me. She's like, are you coming down? Like, yeah, I'm on my way, mum. But I'll have to stay outside, talk through the window. She's like, you what? I'm like, well, I'm not allowed in it. And she basically said, if you turn up here and talk to me through a window, you can go home. And I'm like, Mum, I've got to think about you, you know. And she's like, I am not existing, I'm living. If you can't come in, then don't come.
right.
So I got there, I thought, yeah, all right, Mum, it's fine. I'll get there, I'll just stand outside. What? She's not really shut window on me. So I knocked on the door, and she opened the door and just went inside and sat down. I was like, I have no choice. I went in. But those first period, I was obviously like, okay. But my business was shut. Bear in mind, I didn't just have my MMA company. I had an events venue, like nightclub, kind of wedding venue. They were all shut. So the COVID cost me lots and lots of money.
Jeez.
We'd restructured our companies. Our accountant said, you know, you best restructure. And we'd done this restructuring process. And when we had this thing called furlough, did you have furlough? Where it was like the government paid 80% of everyone's wages for them to stay at home, do nothing.
Oh, did we have something like that? No, I don't think so.
No.
We got the ferðapakki and...
Yeah, we got like, I don't know, it was a very low amount.
Yeah, no, we didn't have furlough, no.
Yeah.
But we did get 5,000 kroner to go on a trip somewhere. From the government. Yeah.
No, like, or telling you could, you know, you could only use it to travel inside the country. And it was just like a really small amount of
It was
money.
like a voucher.
Yeah, and like I didn't even cash mine out. You know,
didn't?
it was just like it was just enough for a sandwich and a drink or something.
I was going to say, 5,000 kroners is like, I think 3,500 is about £20.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like 30 pounds.
Yeah.
I went cave exploring. But no, we didn't have furlough.
No.
No.
So we had furlough. 80% of the wages were picked up by the government.
No.
And people got paid to stay at home. Now,
Nice.
the unfortunate thing is they had to be registered in employment on this certain date. There was a cut-off date. My new companies were 3 days outside that.
Oh.
So I had to pay everyone's wages, out of my own pocket. It was horrendous. I mean, the staff were really good. But yeah, so I had all these companies shut. So I had nothing to do. So I was looking through the National Office of Statistics. It's ONS here, Office of National Statistics, looking at all this data. And as I kind of looked and interrogated the data and did more research, I was like, this is rubbish. This is like only attacking, like only really the elderly and the kind of unwell. These were the areas that were getting hit. So, yeah, I just had too much time on my hands to research it, and then I quickly came to the opinion that this is nonsense. I was going to work every day. I just went to the office every day. My staff went in, but I went to work every day. I never wore a mask. I never did the 2 meters distance thing. I never stopped going to work, and I never took the injections. No,
And here you are.
yeah.
You think you're the same.
Funnily enough, you know, in England, I think it was the same in Britain, but we could go to a pub when it was kind of, when the restrictions were dropping down a bit, you could go to a pub and you had to have a mask on when you stood up.
Yeah.
But when you sat down at a table, you could take your mask off. So I'm like, right, okay. And then they did this thing where if you were having a substantial meal, you were okay. So someone asked, Boris Johnson was the Prime Minister. Someone asked Boris in the House of Commons, what do you classify as a substantial meal? And he said a Scotch egg. Now, I don't know if you guys know what a Scotch egg is, but it's a hard-boiled egg in this kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a kind of meat, kind of sausage meat filling with like breadcrumbs on the outside. It was like, that's a substantial meal, right? Really.
A hard-boiled egg with some meat around it and then breadcrumbs. No.
Google it.
Google. Jamie, pull that up. That's okay.
So yeah, I like I said.
So that's a substantial meal. So
Yeah.
in which case you wouldn't have to wear a mask.
Yeah, you don't have to wear a mask if you're having a substantial meal. Then they created these areas, these pubs created these areas where they built like an outside area. And then that was classed as outside. So, but you were inside. So as long as you were inside but outside, honestly, it was absolute madness. I don't know what it was like here, but the rules around ours was just mental.
Yeah, it's always fun like when the government like puts up rules and all the companies have to do like regulatory kung fu to get around it.
Yeah.
Kind of, and everything becomes really ridiculous.
Yeah. The show that we did
Yeah.
was just mental.
Yeah.
Like just I think it came to a point where I nearly kind of lost the show because I'd done all this jump through hoops as we say.
Yeah.
So every time they put something in front of me, I'd gone over the hurdle, we'd put something in place to kind of make sure that it was sorted. But I was on a conference call with South Yorkshire Police and the leaders of like the local council of the area we were doing it in. And one of them, they were asking, what about this, what about that? And one of them said, what about high-vis vests? You know, the high visibility clothing? High-vis vests. And I said, we don't have any traffic. We're not having traffic on. They're going to pull up at the gate. They literally handed this test. They drive off. They don't park. We've got no parking, so we don't need high-vis, high visibility clothing. And they said, no, for your COVID marshals. And that's the point I lost it. And I said, listen, I'm not having any COVID marshals. I'm not having any cancer marshals, any leukemia marshals. I went off on one and thought, that was a bad move. And I kind of ended it by saying, what gets me here is all you've asked about is COVID. Every single one of you have asked what I'm doing about certain things on COVID. And not one of you have asked about what doctor I'm putting at the side of the cage. These are young, fit athletes. They are in the demographic that are not harmed by COVID whatsoever. But there is a definite hazard or harm in that cage. Not one of you have asked about it. And that's when I was like, and the police officer, like the chief superintendent, was like, why haven't we asked about that? And he kind of came on my side. I was like, get in.
Like, shame on them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Everything was COVID, wasn't it?
Everything was
we have a National Health Service, NHS. It became the National COVID Service.
Yeah.
You couldn't go to hospital if you were unwell.
Yeah.
If you had COVID, you got put in a ward, and it was really mad.
Yeah.
Like my mum was diagnosed, so she kind of collapsed before, and she was diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
But they said to her, we can't do anything. We can't kind of assess how bad it is because you can't come into hospital because of COVID. And they left her, and a year later, she died of cancer.
That's crazy.
Oh.
So
sorry.
yeah, so COVID did claim my mum's life, but not because she had COVID.
Yeah, like indirectly.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that.
No, so obviously I am kind of very conspiratorial about it because there are the kind of cancer waiting lists went through the roof.
Yeah.
And no one cared.
Yeah.
It's the other C. But they used to call it the big C in Britain, the cancer. But no, we had a bigger C. COVID was like everything. Like everyone else, no.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It became apparent it wasn't about health, as it went on.
It was about control.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you did mention like that you run a couple of other businesses. So you're not a full-time MMA promoter or organizer. You also have some wedding business and then something.
I don't now. So I sold them.
Oh.
I'd literally agreed to sell the business before COVID. It was that close to COVID that the guy refused to shake hands on the business deal. We bumped elbows on a business deal. Seriously, I was like, what? And you know, after that, I kind of, whenever I did anything and met someone, I used to put my hand out and say, "Real men shake hands," and no one denied, no one didn't. But that guy was like, "No, we have to bump elbows." I'm like, what? To the point where his business, so he had other restaurant businesses, then COVID kicked in, his restaurant businesses went down, that business, so I lost kind of the sale money of the business, and it was kind of a bad time, but I'm out of that business now. I kind of threw myself full-time into promoting. What happened was, one of the good things that come out of COVID, because like there was a lot of bad, but I had a lot of time on my hands, and I'd always wanted to start a kind of charity side to the business. So martial arts have been great for me. You know, it's kind of been all through my life, from being like 6-year-old starting judo. I've done like 17 different martial arts.
All right.
It's been really, really great for my character and stuff. So the values that are in martial arts, the respect, the discipline, the dedication, all that kind of stuff, I wanted to give back. So I don't make any kind of, I don't hide from this. So in my 20s, and my sons are here, so I'm pretty sure they've heard this before. In my 20s, I kind of I was out of martial arts for about 5 years, and I got into football violence.
Right.
Just being an absolute idiot at games, and got arrested at a few grounds.
Like a hooligan.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I walked into a solicitor's with my arrest charge, and still thought I was like I was a boy, you know.
Yeah.
And he went, "Oh yeah, you're looking at 6 months." And I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute!" Suddenly it's real. The case got adjourned 4 times, and on the 5th time, the prosecutor and the defendant, solicitors, knew each other and just cut a deal, and I got a little fine and a little slap on the wrist, but I got my season ticket taken off me. And that's, at the time, I was like, what? Season ticket taken off me. It was like, what the heck? But it actually turned out to be a kind of bit of a blessing, because I then got back into martial arts.
Right.
Did like competition stuff, stopped drinking. So back in 2000 now, I haven't drunk since.
Right, just sober.
Yeah. So literally martial arts changed my life. So I was like, I need to give back. I believe that every one of us at times, we look for a hand up, and at different parts of your life, different things you need help with, someone's there to help you. But it's your obligation. You are obliged that when you get up there, you have to put your hand down and pull someone else up.
Right.
So mine was, I have to give back. It's been good to me. I need to give back to this sport, this industry, the martial arts world. So I never had time to organise it, to do anything. Suddenly, I've got loads of time on my hand.
Right.
So I set up this, we call it a not-for-profit organisation. So we're in the UK now, we're going out teaching kids, we're teaching like junior 14 to 20-year-olds. We start at the age of like 5, then go up to 14s to 20s, and then we do like a ladies self-defense stuff. We've got like a Muay Thai course going on. We've had like national lottery grants. So it's given me the ability to kind of do that. So yeah, a lot of my time now is taken up doing stuff that doesn't pay the bills, but enriches your life.
Right.
So there's 2 things that I talk about. One is the government. So when the government are involved, it's not what you get in terms of money, it's what you can keep. Because they try and take it off you. But in life, it's not what you get, it's what you give. And if you can give back, and I'm really proud of what we do. You know, we've helped so many people. We've got like scholarship programs going on. We've got people that we've literally changed their lives. Young kid who, and it's not always martial arts. You know, we did this camp, and we realised that this lad had like suicidal thoughts. He was going through a real tough time, But it turned out that he enjoyed rugby. So we kind of pushed him to a rugby club, took him down, got him involved in rugby. And he turned up at one of our camps probably about 2 years later. He'd lost like 3.5 stone. He was no longer getting bullied for being the fat kid, and his confidence had grown. And it was amazing to see. Yeah. And I'm like really proud of as an organisation, we look at, we used to be a fight show. Then we became a TV show with a live TV audience and all that. And we put on these shows, and I'm really proud of the shows that we do. But I'm even more proud of what we do to give back. Yeah. We're out there and we're literally changing lives. And our little motto is enhancing lives through martial arts. We're teaching the values of martial arts. So, yeah, we're going into like high crime areas, stopping children being recruited by organised crime. So in Britain, the age of kind of criminal consent is 10. Yeah. So they'll recruit 7, 8, 9-year-olds.
Right.
Take them out, put them through windows, open windows, put them in. They're the ones in the house committing the burglaries and stuff. And then if they get caught, they can't be charged.
Yeah.
So they're recruiting. So it's our job to get in there and recruit them before they're recruited by the kind of gangs, the organised crime units.
Right.
So, yeah, we're doing all kinds of stuff like that. So, yeah, it's full-time now. I do have other business interests, but they're kind of 50% share where I've kind of invested in something, and I have no running of the kind of business. It's run by someone. I just go in, do a bit of consulting, have a look at stuff, and yeah, it's kind of cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I want to get a little bit back to your darker times when you were like hooliganing. Just a little bit more. So like, how old were you when you were like going to football matches and being
about 25?
25. So it was like a 5-year period or something?
Yeah. So probably from like 23 to about 28, something like that.
Which team did you support? Was it just Doncaster?
No. The mighty Reds of Liverpool.
Mighty Reds of Liverpool.
Okay. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you would show up to all these Liverpool matches and
Yeah. I had a season ticket with Liverpool for about 15 years.
Yeah.
In my early days, I would go even like under 16-year-old. I was still at school. I used to go on the train to the games. I used to queue up. What about this last night with Biaki? Used to queue up outside the ground, get there for 11 o'clock, queue up outside the ground for 2 hours. Then they'd open the turnstiles. In those days, you could pay to get in. You paid to get in, go into the ground, and then wait another 2 hours before kick-off. But those days, standing cop, it was crazy atmosphere, It was such great times, and like after an hour or so, everyone would start singing. So from 2 o'clock on, everyone was singing. You would, the kind of flow of the crowd. You were pushed all over. You're like, it was really like.
It is a crazy atmosphere.
Liverpool is. I'm very biased, obviously, but you go and look at it. Liverpool is one of the best like atmospheres. Yeah. I honestly believe they're the best club in the world, and like my team, I've got one of my team who's a Manchester United fan, never been. Armchair fan. Don't really argue with it, but they've ended up watching all the stuff. So I think Liverpool are one of the most watched clubs on YouTube. I think they've just hit something like 9 million subscribers or something. Yeah. They're the kind of first club to do it. They do all this stuff. A bit of an admission here. We have some groups. We have an Instagram group and a Cage Steel group, both called Cage Steel Insiders. I stole it from Liverpool. So they had this. I went and they had this board around the ground, and they'd become a subscriber, and then they'd cross the subscriber out and put insider. I was like, that's really good. Like, you're not just a subscriber; you're actually inside. You're getting the inside knowledge. So that's when I'm like, right, let's set these groups up. Cage Steel Insiders. That's where it came from. Oh. Don't sue me, Liverpool.
You said you lost your season ticket. Are you still banned from the grounds? Or?
I'm not banned from the grounds anymore, no. We've been a few times with my son. My son's a big Liverpool fan. I've got 2 sons. One son hates football. The oldest son loves Liverpool.
Huh.
Like he loves Liverpool, but he is a football fan. Like when he was younger. I don't know about now. He used to like watch Eastern Mongolia versus the Outer Hebrides. You know, it was like any game on. It was like Soccer Sunday was like 12 o'clock kickoff, 4:30 kickoff, 8 o'clock kickoff. He spent his whole Sunday just watching games. You know, it was like
That's crazy.
So yeah, so we've been a few times to watch Liverpool since. It's a bit different now.
Yeah. What is your favorite rivalry? Like Liverpool versus what team?
My favorite rivalry, or the biggest,
like,
or the biggest rivalry.
Yeah, it's like your favorite. Like you were like hooliganing. You had all this like MMA fighting knowledge. You chugged a few beers. You were just ready to go. Like, what is your favorite team to fight?
Manchester United.
Yeah. Yeah.
In those days, it was Smack a Mank. Smack a Mank. Mank is someone from Manchester.
Yeah.
So it was Smack a Mank.
Yo,
It was terrible. Like, we glorify it. It was such a terrible. Like, I realised that that's not who I am.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that sticks out was I went to Liverpool versus Leeds, and the Leeds fans kind of tried to attack us after. And this guy stood there, and he confronts me, and I just said to him, "Listen, mate, the busies are there. Busies are police." So the busies are there. Like, if we're doing this, you're throwing first. Now, usually most people are going to walk away from that, but he actually punched me, and kind of as I saw it coming, and as the punch landed, I'd already thrown back and hit him, and he went down, and his like 14, 15-year-old son was stood behind him. And that haunts me today. Because I just think no son should have to see that. Now, when I tell this story to anyone, they all say, listen, you can't be held accountable for that. He threw the punch, and his son was with him. So he knew what he was doing. I know, but I kind of use it now as motivation. I kind of take that on and go, I want to give back because of this. So I want to make sure that people don't turn out like that. I don't want them to go through doing what I did. It's not, it kind of became fun. It was a laugh, I think we got into kind of force fighting. When you're at a game, something happens, and all of a sudden you're in a ruck.
Yeah.
And I kind of did all right for myself. So everyone's like, "Oh, Dom will fight." And I was living up to other people's expectations. Right. And I was like, listen, I don't want to be doing this, so. Yeah.
It's no good.
I think the maddest ruck that I've been in was in 2001, I think it was. Liverpool played Arsenal in the FA Cup final, and Wembley was being refurbished. So we played at the Cardiff Stadium. So all the London clubs, their cup final is still in London, whereas everyone else has to travel to London. So they'd never been outside London for a cup game. So they'd never played away from home in a cup game. They was like fish out of water. Now, we didn't go there looking to like have violence, or we went there to win the cup. But so Cardiff splits, and Liverpool fans go one way and Arsenal fans go another way. And at first we didn't kind of realise. So we went in the first pub, Slug and Lettuce it was, and there were 6 of us. And we got in there, it's just full of Arsenal fans. And at the time, Gerard Houllier was the Liverpool manager, and one of my mates, because they were all a bit mad. We just stood there, everyone's having a drink, and one of the lads just starts saying, "Gerard Houllier." So you all join in, and this pub emptied. And it was like, whoa, we just took their pub. Let's see how many more pubs we can take. So we just kept getting deeper and deeper into enemy territory. And then we got in this massive fight. We were literally outside the Arsenal, and there were 40, 50,000 of them, and 6 of us, and we were just swinging for our lives. I had to double leg this guy. I kind of double legged him and carried him into the crowd and chucked him into the crowd. and then realised that I had these like slip-on base London shoes that were like cool at the time, and I lost one of my shoes. So as the kind of crowd filled in, I had to do the same thing again, double leg squat to get my shoe back. That was the maddest funny, and I kind of talk about it like it's fun, and that was what it was. It became fun until it became serious.
Yeah.
You know, like I won't go into jail.
Right.
Did you ever get like seriously hurt?
No. I can remember it was that Arsenal game. My mate was kind of fighting, and I was like trying to calm it down. And a friend of mine told me after this guy, he was a big guy. He said this guy ran 25 yards and punched me in the side of the face, and I heard it before I even realised he'd punched me. I heard the crack, and I just turned around and I was like, who was that? And it was this guy. That's him who I kind of double-legged and pushed into the ground. So luckily, I mean, you'd like to think if you were throwing a punch and you were running at someone 25 yards and sly-shotting them, you'd like to think that you'd wire their jaw up, but he didn't even put me down. So that makes it worse then, because you think, I'm indestructible. So then you go, when I can remember the police came and kind of broke the fight up outside the ground, where there was kind of two of the lads did a runner. I don't blame them. Like, there were 6 of us against 40,000. We should have all run, really. But 4 of us stood in pairs, stood back to back, just literally windmilling. And then when it all cleared off, there was a corkscrew on the ground, you know, the wine corkscrew, with a like wooden bar and then the corkscrew. So someone's gonna, like, that can kill. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, that's a bit mental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you stood there like 4 versus like 40,000, then you see this corkscrew, it's like, that's a bit mental.
Yeah, that was a bit mad. I mean, the other 2, so we got split up, us, the 2 pairs got split up. We didn't meet back up until we got in the ground. The lad that kind of caused it all, he had a massive black eye, like so bad. And he couldn't see, he didn't see the first half. I mean, he was probably lucky because that day Liverpool were terrible until, the 82nd minute. We were 1-0 down and we should have been far more, and we ended up winning it. Michael Owen scored like 80 or 85th minute or something to make it 2-1, and we won. But what we found out was, the kind of thing about put a stake on your eye, your black eye, and it takes it away. Yeah. I don't know if that's true. Like, I was going to say the myth. Yeah. Is it a myth? I don't know if it's true. So this kid thought, oh yeah, that's what you do. So he went to a hot dog van that sells burgers, beef burgers. I thought, well. So he said, I think he asked for a beef, and they were like, I think they sent him on his way. So he grabbed a towel, kind of stole the towel, and put the towel on this lad's eye. But it's what she did the onions with. No! So you can imagine what
Oi.
So we did. That was the Saturday, and then 3-4 days later, on Thursday, we went to Dortmund. I've got a picture from a kind of tube station in Dortmund, and we're all there, and he's still got this massive black eye from the Saturday. So,
oh, that's funny. So yeah, I asked you about this hooligan lifestyle because I've always admired this hooligan lifestyle.
Really?
I wish I could, like, I don't want to have to fly to London every time to go to an Arsenal match and be like an Arsenal hooligan. And it's very pathetic to do it here at home. It's like Breiðablik versus whatever, and you're like throwing over garbage cans and shit like that. It's like, it's very pathetic and cold. So it's like, yeah, that's my dream lifestyle you were living there. I'm very envious. So you'll be putting on the 38th Cage Steel. So
yep.
Yeah, 38. Yeah, in December.
It is Cage Steel 38, and it's actually our 40th show.
Is it actually your 40th show?
Yeah. So the reason
that makes sense.
We did 2 contender series. So we had Cage Steel Contenders 1 and Cage Steel Contenders 2. They're the kind of anomalies, but yeah. It is like Cage Steel full show 38.
Well, do you remember which year it was when you did your first show?
Yeah, it was December 2011.
2011.
Yeah,
cool.
At the time, it was called CSFC.
CSFC.
Yep. So it stood
Cage
for
Steel Football Club.
yeah. It was Cage Steel Fighting Championships.
Oh right.
So we kind of the UFC.
Yeah.
But we had our main sponsor, our first ever sponsor was Cage Steel. So Cage Steel started out as a fight wear company.
Like a sportwear company, like fight
Yeah, so t-shirts, gloves, shinnies, you know, all the kind of fighting equipment. It sponsored Michael Bisping. It Misha Tate. It bought the cage for Cage Rage.
Cage Rage.
Yeah, that was like the first ever UK promotion, or one of the first ever UK promotions.
Oh, right.
Michael Bisping became the champion on that to go to the UFC.
Oh right.
So it had like a history within MMA. So we got the guy on board. He did the first show. It was kind of a mad guy. I'm like, oh, we signed the deal to kind of hire the dome. And I'm like, I came outside. I'm like, right, we need to talk about like marketing budgets and this and other. And he's like, oh, I don't really do budgets. I'm like, what? And funnily enough, we overspent on marketing because he bought random stuff, like loads of banners, but they never made it to the show because they got stuck at customs. They got held up in a container in Southampton or somewhere, so they never made it to the show. But he overspent on this stuff, and then we didn't award belts. We awarded an engraved samurai sword.
Oh shit! Oh,
cost a fortune to get it engraved because no one wanted to engrave it in case it spun around and stuff. You know, they were so it had CSFC engraved just as you pulled the sword out. There was CSFC.
Bring that back.
No, it was crazy, man. This guy that won it, like, first thing he did is pull this samurai sword out in the middle of the cage and starts, like, no.
Oh
yeah,
shit.
it was mad.
It would be like the best moment of my life if Aaron Lowe would like become a champion in December.
Give him a Viking
and he would
sword.
get the sword. Mental.
Yeah, it was mad. So the guy then, we come to like, should we do it again? Because we only kind of did it as a bucket list. Like, I wanted to do a show. I'd had a gym with a lad called Danny Mitchell who went on to fight in the UFC. And it was myself and him. We talked about it for years, and then we kind of lost contact for a bit. And then I'd left my corporate job, so I was operations manager at the local council, Doncaster Council. And I kind of realised I wanted to work for myself, and just walked away from a good paid job, you know, with good benefits, to go and work for myself. And then I set up a facilities management company, and then bumped into Danny. I'm like, hey, why don't we do that show we always said we'd do? And I really thought I'd do one, maybe two shows, and just, you know, tick it off and done. So we did show one, and we're like, oh, I tell you what, there were times on that show where there used to be a lake at the back of the dome. I don't know if you've been when there was that lake. It's a cycle track now. There was this lake. I could have filled my pockets with stones and jumped in that lake. It was it was so hard to do that first show. So then it was like, are we doing another one? Because you start thinking, is it worth it? Like it was just mind blowing. But then you kind of get a bit of an addiction to the adrenaline rush and the stress and all that. So he's like, let's do a second one. Yeah. Just to put these errors right.
Yeah.
So we did a second one. The guy at Cage Steel didn't want to be part of it. So we changed the name to Combat Sport Fighting Championships, but kept the CSFC because we're like, well, we've kind of introduced that to people now. Let's stick with that. And then the guy, Cage Steel clothing was really going down. It weren't being sold. The guy set up his own gym. He called it Cage Steel Gym. And then what happened was he killed his brand because people were fighting. Their opponent was from Cage Steel. So like, well, I'm not going to buy Cage Steel gear. That's like an Arsenal fan buying a Liverpool kit. Right. Like, why would you do that? I'm going to be facing this guy. So his sales just literally stopped.
Mm.
He got rid of the gym, and I went in as a director of Cage Steel Fightwear to try and like boost the brand. But every time I had a meeting, I said, let's do this. He's like, oh, I can't be bothered. So we went to this meeting once, and he's like, right, it's costing me money. So I said, well, if it's costing you money, give it me.
Mm.
And he's like, well, it might not be costing me money, but it's not earning me a lot. I said, okay, give me a price. I'll look at buying it off you. Because obviously Cage Steel were known throughout the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he came, kind of give me a price, and I bought it, and I got a really good deal.
Right.
Like really good. He kind of didn't know how much stock he had.
Right.
And
I can see the way you smile a little bit. Like you can put up a cheeky smile when you say really good.
yeah, I'm kind of like, should I? Because this is probably one of my better business deals. I don't know if the guy will listen to it. Let's go. Let's just go.
Yeah,
for
let's
it.
go.
Yeah, let's go for it. So I'd said to him, get me a price of everything you've got in the warehouse, what stock you've got left.
Right.
Then let's work out a kind of a good nature for the customers that you've got and your website. Give me a price and we'll come to it. I didn't hear anything for a few months. And then my phone rang and I'm like, hey, mate. And he's like, Dom, what the f***'s happening? 'Cause that's how he spoke. I'm like, what with? And he's like, Cage Steel. I'm like, right, so you're going away, you're going to price it up, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
He says, I can't be bothered. Name me a price. So I'm like, now as I left on that first meeting, I said to him, how much stock do you think you've got? And he said about £4,000. So I just said, I tell you what, I'll give you £4,000. And I'm taking stock that's RRP £4,000, but you know, it's not worth £4,000 now because you've killed the brand. You know, I've got to sell it. Mm. And he said, yeah, okay. I'm like, right, okay. Bought Cage Steel. We went over with a lorry, pick up all the stuff, and this guy's made his money, right? He's done well in business. He's got, you know, I think he bought his dad's business that he'd got off his granddad. They made conveyor belts and they made a lot of money from it. So he got all these toys, quads, trials bikes, cars. The guy's got Ferraris and all sorts, like, just mad. All in this place where the MMA gym used to be. So he's like, listen, move those quads. There's some bags, these Cage Steel bags. They were a really great bag. They were like £49.99 RRP, retail price. He's like, there's some bags there as well. You can have them. I ain't counted them. All right, cool. Turned out to be 442 bags. Right. So we loaded this lorry up, and as this lorry's getting loaded, I'm thinking, I'm obviously doing maths in my head, like that's 100 t-shirts, even at a tenner each, that's £1,000. There's this, there's that. I'm counting up in my head. Like maths is one of my strong points, particularly like quick maths. Yeah. So I'm like counting this lot up, and the lorry, we had to squeeze everything in to shut the lorry, and I sent the lorry off. And then I went in to see him, and he says, right, what are we doing with payment? And I said, well, he said, I like high interest account. I've got my money in, so I've applied for it. It'll be like 4 days. And he's like, right, yeah, no worries. So we'd sold these coats to someone, and the coats, the order hadn't been complete because he didn't get the final coats. So he said, I said, there's that £4,000, but there's also these coats that these people have bought. There's that money as well. And he's like, what, haven't you got that money yet? I said, no, because we ain't giving them coats. And he's like, right. He said, but they've had some. I said, I know, but we ain't completed the order. I know, I'm fine. And he said, let me give you a business lesson. So I had an apprentice with me at the time. I'm like, yeah, okay. And he's like, never let anyone take anything unless they've paid for it. I said, oh, thank you. I appreciate the business lesson. Bear in mind that there's a wagon driving out his gates full of stock that I ain't give a penny for. And I'm just going, yeah, thank you. You know, we got in my car and I said to the apprentice, did you get that lesson? And he's like, what? So I explained it to him. I'm like, look at that lorry. That lorry's full. Yeah. When we got back to, I had a business centre as well that I had like MPs that were tenants in there, you know. So I used to rent all these rooms out. We took it back to the offices. We started unloading this lorry. And I'm like, it turned out, I think it was £102,000 retail value.
Oh shit!
Oh.
That I got for £4,000. I couldn't sell it for 102 because it weren't, you know, that's counted a t-shirt at £15, but it weren't worth that anymore because the kind of brand had been dropped. He'd made some business mistakes where he'd give people stock on a sale or return. So here's £5,000 worth of stock. You put it in your shop. If it sells, you pay for what you sell, and if it doesn't sell, we'll kind of return it if we're not happy. But then what happened was those people were just filing for bankruptcy.
Right.
So then Cage Steel stock was ended up on like discount sites. So all of a sudden you were buying gloves at stupid prices. So I couldn't sell it for £100,000. But I bet I sold it for probably 30-40% of that. So I kind of 10x my money.
Yeah,
and I got the brand. I got Cage Steel.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's
a cool story. I've never really told it because I obviously don't want to, I don't want to kind of diss this guy because that guy's done well in business, but it was kind of an error on his part. But
but it's a good story.
Yeah,
it's a good business lesson. and this lawyer stuff is like a little bit ironic.
Yeah.
Don't let it take away if you haven't paid for it. Yes, sir.
That's what I did. Yeah.
No worries.
I was like, I've read like the 48 laws of power.
Right.
It's like let them think that they're the powerful one, and you're actually winning. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I was like bowing down to him. Yeah, you're the master. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was like, right the car, like
bro,
I'm winning.
That's unbelievable. I was wondering earlier, like, you started your first show. I was like wondering, like, what vision did you have, like, in the beginning, and whether you had, like, if you had made it, like, if you had a dream or a destination in mind where you wanted to take the show. Obviously, you said earlier that you were only going to do 2 shows, and then no more. But do you have like an objective for Cage Steel? Like, where do you want to take this?
So it's kind of changed over time. There's been lots of like evolution within Cage Steel. Like you said, started out it was a show, and then it was like maybe 2, maybe 1 or 2. And we did 2, and then I wanted Cage Steel, so I kind of pushed it a bit more and ended up buying Cage Steel and changing the show name to Cage Steel, and then it was like, and then I was like, well, where can we take this? People have gone, we got named number 10 in the world on this MMA site, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like that made us number 2 in the UK. I was like, I don't like number 2. Like, I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm used to winning.
Whoa.
No, I'm very competitive. Like a lot of things I won't play games because I'm too competitive. I hate it. I can remember being a kid and I think I lost at something like Ludo, Tiddlywinks or something like that. And I kind of threw the board over and kicked off, and my sister said, you need to learn to be a good loser. And my mum or my dad said, don't ever learn to be a good loser, because anyone who's happy at losing are a loser.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck with me. So I'm very competitive. So I'm like, why can't we be number 1 in the UK? Why can't we? I'm not aggressively chasing it.
No.
It's something that we can always aspire to. Cage Warriors in the UK are amazing at what they do. They send a lot of fighters. It's kind of the gateway for UK MMA to the UFC. They put on good shows. If I can get in, near them, I'll be happy. But I do kind of have big aspirations for it as an organisation. The stuff that we're doing in terms of not-for-profit.
Yeah,
I want to get some academies across the UK. I want to make difference to people's lives. I think that's the kind of big driver. But I also want to put on great shows.
Right.
So it's a kind of double aspiration, if you like. But yeah, I've got plans where I can push this, and I think that's the way we'll go. I obviously want to broaden this out. I'm here today. I've travelled to Iceland to kind of see you guys and hopefully build the brand here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I'm hearing that people are getting like Yeah, they're starting to recognize Kate Steele. They know UFC and Kate Steele here because of all the Reykjavik MMA guys.
That's what I'm told. Yeah. Last night I didn't realize the kind of enormity of it, but the guys, they were telling us about it, saying, "Oh yeah, people are saying, oh, I want to get onto Cage Steel."
Yeah,
and it's like, wow, it's kind of a bit surreal, if you like what?
Yeah, it's just consistency.
Yeah, I had this guy come up to me at the gym, introduce his son to me, and said, "This is my son. He's 16. Hopefully, he'll get on your show in a couple of years. Can we have our picture took with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." So I had picture took, and he's like, "I'm going to save this picture, and I'm going to show it you in a couple of years when he fights on your show." I'm like, "Okay, cool." But yeah, cool. you know, I don't see it. We're not. None of us, like no one in the team's big-headed or braggy or anything like that. So it's we do stay on like this kind of download, but we obviously want to produce something that everyone else can be proud of as well. You know, if people are aiming to get on there, then and we've had it in the UK. We've had people come to us and say, "I've got this lad. He wants to fight." When he first came to me, I asked him what his aspirations was, and he said, "If I could get a title at like Cage Steel, I'd be buzzing." I'm like, "You don't realise what you're doing, you know." And I say to this, like when we're doing camps, you know, the kind of not-for-profit stuff, say to the instructors all the time, you're throwing pebbles in a pond, and you never know how big the ripples will get or whether they become big waves. We're making a difference to people's lives, and sometimes they're big waves at the end. And that's the same in the show, because you can't know every fighter. You can't know every team and every manager. You don't know what's going on behind what you see. You know, you can interview them and they'll tell you what's going on in their life and stuff like that. You can never know. So you don't know what impact this is having. No. So yeah, you just keep throwing stones in a pond. Yeah,
sounds pretty good. I'm very interested in like you have a very good, how can I the way you approach life, and giving back to the community. I'm impressed with the way you approach life and this organization in general.
Thank you.
I'm trying to find my words here. Difficult. Too early for English.
Listen, I won't be able to converse in Icelandic.
Yeah.
Your language is tough. It's tough, but also, I say this all the time, we're lazy. English are very, very lazy when it comes to languages. We're lucky. You know, we're probably the luckiest nation in the world. Everywhere you go, speak English.
Oh, yeah.
So whenever we're going abroad, whether it's Spain or Italy or something, we'll learn hello, goodbye, please, thank you. But as soon as you ask them something that's hard, you go, yeah, forget that. They'll speak English. We'll be all right.
That's true.
And Icelandic is tough. Like, I always try to master hello, goodbye, please, thank you. Yeah. But I've got nothing. I think I said to you, I've got tak, which I think is like hi. Is that right? Is that right?
No.
What is it then? What's tak?
Like, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Hi is just hi.
Yeah, I got told hi. Is like, hi. I'm like, okay.
That's funny.
But there's no pressure for English people, you know, and you're either bilingual or you're English.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, we're lucky we don't have to learn another language, and that makes us lazy.
Yeah.
It does. You know, we have to take a second language in school, and it's pathetic. The way that it's taught is pathetic. I took French, and then went to France with the school, and I can never remember what it is, but it's something like, "What's your name?" and you reply with, I think it's Je m'appelle Dominic or something. It sounds great. But they're laughing at us, these French kids. And we're like, what are you laughing at? Saying, and they explain it to us. If I said to you, what's your name? You wouldn't reply with, my name is Dominic. You just go, Dominic. So I realised that everything we were being taught was just rubbish. It wasn't like conversational French. Right. So then that kind of just like, what? And I mean, you know, I've lived all over my dad was Royal Artillery, so I've lived all over the world as a youngster, but we lived on army bases. So we didn't really have to learn the language. You know, I can remember being in Germany and we thought it were great as kids to call each other bala bala dumkopf, which is like stupid or something like that. You know, and that's all you did. We brothers and sisters, bala bala dumkopf. That was as far as the German or anything went.
Oh, so your dad was in the army?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Royal Artillery.
Royal Artillery.
Yeah. So artillery, you know, guns.
Yeah. Like a long distance.
Yeah, they're called gunners. So you can't keep them in one place. So you have to move around a lot. So we was like 6 to 8 months we moved. So it was like Germany, Singapore, Cyprus, Northern Ireland in the 70s.
Right.
Like they were mad times.
So you had to pack down your artillery pieces and move to another base. And
They were just kind of like, I don't, because I was very young, I don't understand why we were moved so much.
Yeah.
But we were just like always on the move. And I think my dad was, he was like assigned to the paras, like 2nd Paratroop Regiment or something like that. So we just went everywhere. It was like, as a kid, depending on what army base you went on, you were called army brats. The kids were called brats. I don't know whether that kind of translates here, but it was like whoever got a black belt in whatever martial art and was willing to teach the army brats. So I did loads of stuff as a kid, but 6 to 8 months we moved on.
right.
You know, and I never really mastered anything. I used to go off the thing of Bruce Lee saying black belts are for holding your trousers up, because I never got one. You know, I did so many belts and never got to black belt, and was kind of disappointed that I never got there. And then mixed martial arts came about.
Right.
I was like, that's sick. I've got a lot of them. So yeah, that was kind of a good change for me, but it was kind of a good, you know, military lifestyle. We were very strict upbringing.
Right.
You kind of ironed your own clothes, and you had rotas, and you did washing up, and you did, you know, it was very strict, but you know, it was all right as well.
Yeah.
You know, my mum and dad split up when I was young. My dad came out the forces, and they split up, and we were poor. You know, we had 1-parent family to 5 kids. My mum brought us all up. We didn't have money, and that's like these camps. The people that we're doing it for is kids that are underprivileged, and I was underprivileged. I just didn't realise it,
Right.
because you know, our mum made sure that she gave us love, and she gave us food to put on the table. And you know, I used to go with my mum. She had like 3 jobs. She'd do like 2 cleaning jobs. Christmas time, she'd pluck turkeys, you know, and I used to sit there reading her books while she did her jobs. And you know, she worked hard. I can remember like one year I saw this guitar, and I'm like, oh, I want that guitar for Christmas. My mum went and worked all these jobs to buy me this guitar.
Right.
And then I never really learned to play it. I got to 75th anniversary, and I went to a guitar teacher and said, I need to play at least a song. So I used to work at my friend's Italian restaurant as a barman, and my mum used to work in the kind of kitchen area, washing the pots. She was 75 at the time. She was just a workaholic. She was a beast. So they did these theme nights. They did a spaghetti western. So they could all dress up as country and western, but it was still spaghetti western. You know, it's kind of cool. So I was like, listen, I'm going to play for my mum on that night. It's her 75th birthday. So I learned to play Apache by Shadows. I don't know if you heard it.
Yeah.
The Biggie.
Yeah. Is it Hank Marvin? Hank.
It's like an instrumental band,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough song. So I've competed in different things throughout my life. I was more nervous for that. So I got the guitar that my mum bought me, because loads of times my sisters were like, oh, why don't you give it to a school? They'll get the use out of it. And loads of times I was like, yeah, I'll let someone get the use out of it. But I'm like, I know what my mum went through to get me this. I can't kind of give it away.
Right.
So I had that guitar on the night. I'm like, Mum, you bought me this. You went through these jobs, and you know, you gave up everything to get me it. So I'm not going to play that, but I bought an electric guitar, and I'm going to play this. And I played Apache for her 75th birthday. that was kind of all I learned. My son's sat here. My son's like an excellent drummer, like ridiculous drummer, and then taught himself guitar. Taught himself like, and I walked in, and he was playing like Muse. Like, I'm like, what? What is hitting with guitar? I'm like, how do you do that? Mine is I just don't have time to put in.
Right.
I don't have time to do it. When I do pick a guitar up, I like to have a little go. I can play a few songs. But yeah, so my mum worked hard as, we were poor. So I see kids that are poor now and I want to help them.
That's wholesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there are no more questions from me for the moment, Biggie.
I would just like to ask a little bit about the next show. It's 3 weeks away. Like, is everything like done? All the fights booked, or are you still in some stress, like figuring out the last things? Or
so this is the thing. You kind of go through this process where all the fights are booked, and you're kind of in this good zone, and then you're working out all the other stuff. So all the event stuff, the production crews, the lighting, the doctors, all the other stuff that goes with it. And selling tickets, obviously, your marketing campaigns and all that. And then the sport's tough. So then you get the dropouts. So last night, we've got Haukon fighting. When does this go out? Just to make sure that Haukon's aware of this I'm thinking that he'll be made aware before this goes out. So we had to tell Biathki and Maggie last night that his opponent, Jack Stevenson, was out.
No, really? Oh.
So that fight has been 2 years in the making.
Yeah.
Which I started off saying that, Jack's team weren't happy with the decision, and it's always been on the back burner, let's get this fight. And we got the fight on eventually. Yesterday, Jack torn a ligament at work. So the fight's off. At work, yeah. Wow. So the fight's off. But we've got a replacement.
Okay.
So there's all that kind of stuff. There's always that kind of stuff going off. That's where the stress is. Where it's like, oh, they're out and they've got these tickets sold. They've got this. It is a mental sport to kind of organise. People think it's just like, you just put this thing together. But we're literally on this full time. We're going out, driving around the UK, interviewing fighters. Driving to Iceland. But yeah, we're out all the time. We do our day job, everything in the day to do with marketing and stuff. Then we jump in the car and we drive to maybe 2 hours drive to kind of Liverpool or Manchester or wherever we're going, and then interview the fighters and come back 9, 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, it's full-time thing, and the stress is the kind of replacements.
So every day is Kate Steele day. You always like do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's my job. Yeah. I wake up every day. I get to talk about fighting, MMA.
It's great, isn't it?
Oh my God, yeah. I always say I'm blessed.
And are you involved in like every aspect? Do you like the matchmaking and
100%? Yeah. I sign every fight off.
Okay.
So Alex does lots of like the contacts the managers and puts the kind of potential deals together, and I'll sign off on them. So I'm involved in that. I oversee like the marketing side of it. I do all event stuff. So I'm the one who makes sure the doctors, you're sorted, I speak to all these people. I'm like heavily involved. I'm very hands-on. So yeah. Lots of people are like, oh, you need to kind of give up control and all this. But I found that in the past, when I've given up control, something's gone wrong, and I go, what? So it's a difficult one to kind of step away from fully. You've kind of got to be involved at some point. Or I have.
Can you tell us something about this new opponent that Haukon will be facing?
Yeah, he's only like, I think when I looked yesterday, it was something like 2-1 or something like that. So he'll be a good matchup for Haukon. It'll be still a tough match for him. He's kind of very, very new to it, only kind of 2-1 or something like that. So, but Haukon's got to be on his game. I was watching him when we were there, Thursday night, watching him do all his marketing stuff. So RDK have Arnie there, and like Arnie's such a great guy.
Yeah,
like he puts so much into it, and he's got Haukon doing so much camera stuff. It's like, so yeah, I'm glad that we've kind of got a replacement. And it is just that. It is just having that process of someone's out, we go into a different mode. Like, let's get a replacement. Let's look at who we can kind of replace.
Yeah.
It's the sport's tough, so that's what you've got to accept. You know, everyone in their job, everyone listening to this, their work will have something in there that they hate, that's horrible, that's boring, whatever it is. The problems that come with your job. Ours is dropouts.
right.
So I can't accept going, oh yeah, every day I'm blessed and all this, and then kick off about the dropouts. I've got to go, do you know what? These are the things that I have to put up with to enjoy that every day.
Right.
And everyone, you know, accounts is another one. I hate accounts.
Same.
Going to the accountant is like, oh.
It's terrible.
It's not who I am. I kind of like the excitement. Like, let's do this, let's go there, you know. And whenever I've taken an accountant on, I always say, listen, my job is to march forward, to create trenches behind me and craters, and you've got to fill them in. Because I'm not. So yeah, other than accountant, that is the kind of stress of the job.
Yeah.
So I ran, in 2013, I ran the London Marathon. It was something I've always wanted to do as a kid. I'd been to Thailand in the November of the year before. Training, I was like the fittest I could be, but I had a problem. Like my calf was terrible. So I kind of downloaded a 16-week plan, which became 14, 12, 10, 8, and still not training. Down 3 weeks out, go to see my osteopath. And she said, when did you break your foot? I'm like, what? It's like, you need to go and get your foot x-rayed. I think it's broken. So I go and get it x-rayed, broken foot. So she's like, listen, you can't run. I'm like, listen, I've raised £2,500 for NSPCC, which is the Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Children. And the biggest problem with our sport is dropouts. I am not dropping out of this. I'm going to run with a broken foot. So, yeah, I did.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I ran with a broken foot. I did 5 hours 51.
With a broken foot?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And how did you feel afterwards?
Were you broken mentally?
Do you know what, right? That's a really good question because I don't get asked it a lot, but when I do, I can remember as I ran down, I kind of zoned out. I'd been through every emotion on that course. I've been through where I was like pushing myself on, and I was down, and I was just crazy. I was lucky that it was the London Marathon was the week after the Boston bombing.
Right.
So they told everyone to stay away because of terrorism, but everyone said no way. The British mindset was like, terrorists are not driving us out. And it was the biggest supported event. So I was kind of lucky that I had a big crowd to kind of spur me on.
Right.
I've been through every single emotion, and I've zoned out. I'm not looking at numbers. I'm just doing I'm going the next high five. So I'd got the NSPCC vest on, and the kids had put their hand up, and you just go the next high five. I've just got to get to that hand. Just got to get to that hand. That's how I run the course. And I can remember all of a sudden seeing Buckingham Palace.
Right.
And Buckingham Palace is the last. You do a straight, you do like a hairpin loop, Buckingham Palace, then you're on the Mall, and the final stretch, you've got 500 yards or something like that. Saw Buckingham Palace, I was like, I'm saved. So I turned that corner, and there's a guy there who was really struggling. I put his arm around my shoulder. I'm like, come on, mate, we're nearly there. And we got onto the mallet. I'm like, you ready to run? He's like, yeah. So he's like, I let him go. And obviously, he suddenly found like a second when he could see the fire. I just went off on my own. And I'd got it all built up in my head of like crossing that line, and they're going to put the medal around your neck. It's going to be so amazing. And because I'd raised £2,500, the NSPCC track you and meet you, and they'll take you to their hut, and they'll kind of massage you, look after you after. I crossed the line, and as I crossed the line, the feeling that I felt was nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was just devoid of all emotion. I'd been through every single emotion in 26 odd miles. I had nothing. And this NSPCC worker come up to me and she's like, yeah, we're going to take you over there. Right. And I can remember that as we'd kind of set off, there were some ice cream vans. And I just said to her, I want an ice cream. And I made her take me to the ice cream truck before I went back to the NSPCC. I just had this ice cream. I don't know. It was like, I went there. Mentally, my head was gone. But funnily enough, I recommend massage after any kind of event like this because they took me in there. They kind of massage your legs and your back and everything. Yeah. So bear in mind, I'd run it with a broken foot, so I'd not run properly. You expect everything to kind of be out and hurt. But in the hotel the next morning, I was the only one who could do stairs. Oh. Everyone else was like, oh. And I was like, I'm cool. I went and did like tourist thing and walked around London and went to Buckingham Palace properly and, did all the stuff after. I was like, I'm fixed. Just got to run a marathon and you're fixed.
That's crazy.
But again, I kind of got lucky because I went to a business conference. It's about a week or 2 weeks before. And there was a guy there giving a talk and he crossed the line. He'd never run a marathon in his life. And crossed the line on his 50th birthday, having completed his 66th marathon in 66 days in 66 different towns and cities across the UK.
Whoa. Oh.
But on day 2, he ripped his Achilles tendon.
Ouch.
And I was like,
still went through the whole, yeah.
So he said, they sat there and everyone's like, this is over. Now, I don't know how the government works, local government in Iceland, but in England it's terrible. So he said, I said to my team, all the work we've put in, not just the training, but arranging these councils to finish in their town, have the mayor there and all this kind of stuff. He says, have you ever tried to get a bin? Like in England, it's local authorities like hard work. He said, it's hard enough to get a bin in one town, never mind 66 towns. This isn't over. I'm refusing to let this be over. So afterwards, after the event, I went up to him and I said, listen, I was really interested. I've got a broken foot. I'm running the marathon. How did you do it? And he said, I never ran a marathon. I'm like, well, you just told us you did 66. He said, I just knew I needed to do 28,644 steps. I just had to run the next one. And I was like, what? So they as he ran, he had a physio putting ice down his sock. They ran the Achilles tendon clean in 18 days, which is weird.
Well,
but for 18 days, 18 of those 66 marathons, he was in absolute agony. It took him 10 hours. I said, what, day 3 after you, how long did it take you? And he said, 10 hours. So I just thought, right, okay, it's going to take me 10 hours. I've just got to have 10 hours of pain. And as I lined up, this guy came up to me and said, why are you running? And I said, well, I initially picked it because I promote mixed martial arts. Cage fighting, as it was back then. No one knew it as MMA. So I've picked the NSPCC as something that's totally what people would think was very different, looking after kids and cage fighting. So he went, all right. I said, why are you running? He said, well, 18 months ago, I was in a car crash. I told I'd never walk again. I was like, all right, mate. Top trumpet, isn't it? I'm like, no, I've got to run. I had no excuse. He was running. This guy was like, shouldn't have been walking. His legs, you could see that he'd been mangled up, and he was running the London Marathon. And he was aiming to do 4 hours 30. I was like, what? It's funny, I did London Marathon, and then I listened to David Goggins and thought, right, I'm a pussy. That guy's taping his shins up that are snapped with duct tape and doing 240 miles. I'm like, that guy's mad.
Yeah, he's mad. He makes everybody look bad.
Yeah, he runs till he shits himself.
He's crazy. Yeah. So I thought that I'd done this amazing feat. Amazing foot, because the other one was broke. So I thought it was incredible. I completed this. It's great. But yeah, he's just next level, isn't he? Yeah. It's funny because my team said to me, where's your London Marathon medal? We'll put it up in the office. I don't know. Like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, it didn't mean anything to me. I wanted to run the London Marathon from being kind of 11-year-old, seeing it on the TV, but actually completing it was just like nothing.
Underwhelming.
I don't know if it's because of the injury that I didn't get to run it how I wanted to run it.
Right.
And then I'm like, do I actually want to run it fit? Do I want it? Because I'd love to have given it a go and got under 4 hours or something like that.
Right.
But I just resigned myself to the fact now that, listen, just that's ticked off. Put that away, because I ain't got the time to be doing 24-mile runs training. I'm like, that's done. It's gone. Yeah, I don't know where a medal is.
Yeah. So we just dig into the fight promotional business, and
yeah,
that's always exciting. So next one is in 7th of December.
Yeah,
so
3 weeks today.
Yeah, 3 weeks today. So we have 4 Icelandic fighters confirmed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We got Aron Leo, of course, fighting for a
professional title.
Professional title.
Yeah.
Johan Salinas is fighting for a lightweight title.
Yep.
Correct. Hakon with his new opponent, and the 4th was Jonathan Francisco.
Yeah. Correct.
Was that also a title fight?
Is what? Sorry.
Is Jonathan Francisco also fighting for a title? I don't remember.
Yes, I think he's defending his title.
Yeah.
Kind of don't know my own name at the minute.
Yeah.
When I get 3 weeks out, people ask me, "Oh, I need to look."
Yeah.
Because it just gets mad, you know, when you like you've got all these fights on all these fighters, and you've got names in the hat that you're kind of trying to put together, and you do kind of get where I just have to rely on our Microsoft 365 sheets, you know, like Google Sheets. Yeah. It's like that kind of stuff, because it just gets mental. You just got too much going on in your brain, and it's like you just get messed up. Yeah. Obviously I remember like the fighters and their opponents, but they're good fights. You know, Aron Leo was making a name for himself. The 10-second knockout just propelled him to like next level.
Yeah, like he was being asked for autographs at the airport.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Do you notice that like he especially becoming a star over there, like more attraction because of him, or
not so much in the UK?
No.
I don't know why. Obviously, people took notice of him, and people in the UK took notice of him because of the 10-second knockout, and then his opponents. Like my marketing team have used it to death.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
they've
a
used
very good marketing team, and they always show me the clips that I want to see every day.
So they get accused of using it to death by the next opponent. The next Aron Leo opponent is like, you've used that shot to death. Like, well, it's a 10-second knockout. You know, it's like it was so unexpected. Like that kid turned up, and I thought this is gonna be a tough fight. I expected a real barnstorming fight, and it was like gone. And the thing is, as a promotion, if you were writing it, if you were doing a WWE and scripting it, you would script that, because that was the last fight of the night. Everyone had seen some amazing fights. Everyone had kind of stayed, and then that happens. Boom! Everyone is going to me, Dom, what the? You know, Dana White says this. Dana White says his job is to give you 4 or 5 holy moments every Saturday. But that was really a holy moment.
It was a great moment.
It was mad.
Yeah.
Like I said, unexpected.
Yeah.
Like you say, if he's getting asked for autographs at the airport, that's mad. So over here, what's his kind of fan base? Does he get recognized here?
Not sure if he's getting recognized.
Yeah, I mean the MMA scene is small, so like everyone who follows the sport knows him, but like like people wouldn't stop him on the street.
Right.
Like that's just something that Icelandic people don't do really.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the same with like Gunnar Nelson. Like he's a UFC fighter, but if you approach him on the streets, you pretend that you don't know him, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it goes. So it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same for us, podcast stars. A lot of people pretend not to know us. Yeah, but so it's like it's hard to say, but he's definitely getting bigger because like we started these. We have this venue now where we show Kate Steele, and like we fill up place, and we can all kind of sense that the fighters are being more recognized. The more we do podcasts and write articles and create community events and stuff like that, they get a little bit more recognition.
Yeah,
it's a lot more fun.
No, it's good. It's like I've seen videos of the place where you are, some bar or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's like 100 people there watching the show. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like the first one we did was when we had the 10-second knockout.
Was it?
Yeah. It was like,
wow.
They were like, hey kids, like let's all go to this bar and then watch Kate Steele. And I was like, oh, Kate Steele. Okay, like everybody gives it a shot, and then there's a 10-second knockout. There's a submission, and the bar is like the bar has like this deal. If an Icelander gets a submission or a knockout, everybody gets a free beer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like 100 free beers.
Yeah. Bad night for them.
Like Johan Salinas opened up with a knee bar victory.
That knee bar victory was crazy.
It was crazy.
Is it the best submission you've seen at Kate Steele? Are there any other ones up there?
There are. I think it was Jack Grant getting. What was it? I think he did like an anaconda choke. It was really cool how he did it. He pulled it off. So there's been a few. We've had a twister.
Yeah, okay.
So Rico Franco got a twister. Rico Franco's the only guy in professional MMA in the world to have 3 twisters to his name.
Whoa.
His coach, Danny Mitchell, held the record with 2.
Yeah, okay.
But Danny Mitchell's, one of his is in Bellator against a tough opponent. So to pull off a twister against someone like that. But yeah, Rico's twister is kind of... It's going to be tough to beat a twister. But I think, you know, when you add it all together, like how the atmosphere... It just went crazy, that knee bar. And I think it was late on in the round as well. So it was like nearly the end of the round. It just suddenly went off. It was like, what?
Yeah. I remember like Bjarki grabbed the bucket and he was like on the way to his cage and he's like, oh wait, what? The fight's over.
Yeah.
It was
so I think when you kind of put it all together, not just the technicality of the kind of submission.
Yeah.
When you put out when it happened and the crowd reaction and all that, I think it's probably it's definitely up there.
Yeah. There have been some great moments.
Yeah.
It's a fun show to watch.
Yeah, people always say to me, "Oh, what's your best moments?" Or "What's your top?" My team are always going, "We've got this feature down, and we're going to feature your top 3." And I go, "Don't even ask me my top 3. Stop asking me my top 3 because I literally can't tell you them. I've got too many. Like the show has produced so many great moments that I can't tell you 3."
Exactly.
I can imagine like if I could pick a moment in Kate Steele, theoretically, it would be like if Dom would ever like close the show with a guitar solo. He's like, "That's a wrap, guys." Start jamming on the guitar. That would be the best Kate Steele moment.
Not for me.
I'm saying like Kate Steele 50 or something. You got time to prepare. Just play us out.
My retirement.
Yeah.
Like when I don't think I'll ever retire though.
No,
that's the thing.
I was like thinking like when you told the story about like your first show and how you wanted to put stones in your pocket and take a trip to the lake.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, what if somebody would tell you just, "Hey Tom, just 38 more times." At that moment, you'd be like,
that moment, I can remember standing on the thing. I was just like, "This is never happening again."
Yeah.
Like not in terms of the show, but in terms of the organisation and the things that happened, and like the mistakes we made. I made a promise to myself that would never happen again. And there's always something else that I go, "This ain't happening again." So there's always something that we want to kind of make better. So there'll always be that moment of this is stressful. but I'm going to put this right next time. And we are, you know, we're getting those things. We're getting where I'm happy with lots of things that we do now. But there'll always be those moments because it's a fight show and things happen. You know, you get that. He's not ready. He ain't got his gloves on, or he ain't passed his medical. You know, we did one show, not the last show, the show before. 5 people failed their medical.
Oh shit!
We were like, the blood, their heart rates and blood pressures are like, what the heck? So you're in a panic, like, are they gonna get? They've been told to go and chill out, you know, and come back, and 4 passed and 1 didn't. And luckily, the one that didn't, his mate said, well, I'll jump in and fight for him. So he took his medical and passed and got in and fought and won.
What a day.
Yeah, he weren't even ready. So yeah, there'll always be those things. I think if, obviously what you're asking, I think if you'd have said to me at show 1, you're going to be sat in Iceland in a podcast in 2024 about to do your 40th show.
All right.
I'd be like, what? This thing gets to number 40? Like, what the heck? Like, this is a mad journey. Let's ride this train.
All the way. I think, ride this train all the way. It's a crazy business.
Yeah.
It's a great show, and it's just getting bigger and better. So
hopefully, yeah.
Got a lot of good talent. It surprised me at first because when I went to the first trip, it was mostly like young guys, and I thought it was like a really entry level kind of tournament, you know, or promotion. But then, you know, you saw I think it was Lewis Lee Scott who was the main event there, and he like finished it with like a body kick KO.
Spinning kick.
Yeah, something like that. And then, you know, next time I went, I saw the Adam Bramhall and the Ibragimov and these guys, like really talented guys. And now I'm seeing them in Contender Series in the PFL. Are you trying to retain these guys and you know, build more up with them, or are you happy being like a way for them to go to these bigger promotions like UFC and PFL?
Yeah, so I talked about how Cage Warriors are kind of the gateway to the UFC. I want to be that.
Yeah,
we don't try and retain fighters. So I talked about independence. So early on, me and Danny started managing fighters. Right, we set up this management company. One of our early guys is a guy called Mark Jackezzi, or Diakese as people call him. He had about 15 fights in the UFC. But we put him on our show and he got a draw. He won the fight. Like, I could show you the fight. Everyone in he won easily. And this guy came up to me and said, he only won that because he's your fighter. I was like, what? And I realised that actually that doesn't give me independence if I'm managing fighters. That's down the boxing route where you've got trainers and managers that have got these guys and they put a show on for their guys, and you've got the corruption that's within boxing because their home guy wins. And I'm like, I don't want that. I want MMA to be different to boxing. I want it to be where the promotion provides a platform for these managers and trainers to put their talent. And as you say, you know, some of those names, Mokaev, Louis Lee Scott, Ibragimov, Adam Bramald. Bramald went to Dana White Contender Series and crazily lost. He got beat, which no one kind of expected. And Dana White said, if he gets a win, he'll take another look at him. So I chucked my hat in the ring. I said, look, let's get him on. It's the closest show to his home. You know, let's do something. And if he wins, he'll go back. But I wouldn't get Adam Bramald a bum. So that he can just get a win. And to be fair to his team, some of the guys that we put that were not as experienced, they turned him down. So he's got a tough 10-2 Brazilian. This is a legit Brazilian. Like, there's a lot of like UK promotions that tell you they've got a Brazilian on. They put a Brazilian flag next to his name. The guy's name's Santov, but he's living in Leeds, you know, because his family in Brazil. We are legitimately flying these guys in from Brazil. So this is a tough fight for him. But if he wins, he'll go back to Dana White Contender Series, possibly go to the UFC.
Now, is this on 7th of December? Yeah, okay, nice.
So although it'd be great for the promotion for Adam Bramall to win, I can't favour him. I won't. I won't not let the Brazilian eat or not get him a sauna or not pick him up from the airport.
Right.
We'll do everything we can to even out the odds.
Yeah.
So, you know, we had Brazilians fighting like Louis Lee Scott and he'd bring him off. And I've picked him up from the airport myself. I've took him to gyms. I'm running around late at night, getting them food. I've had him in my car. Listen, they've gone in the sauna and they've got to get back to the digs because they're cutting weight. I've put like the heated seats on in my car and I've put Brazilian tunes on in my car for them to drive back because I want them to feel welcome. You know, it's not favouring someone. It's just evening the odds.
Yeah.
What was mad about that is I played that Baiana, you know, Baiana, Baiana. You know, you heard the Brazilian song?
No.
I'll play it after. I put that on in the car for him. They were singing and like, he then came out to it. His walkout, he used that song as like a, you know, thank you, if you like. I was like, what? It was like a real surreal moment because obviously we did look after them.
Right.
But that's my philosophy. You know, you got to look after these guys. They're putting a lot on the line. They're flying from their hometown. You know, it's not easy. Like Iceland's very close, but it's not easy to fight somewhere else. You land there and you take up a residence in a different country and you find your way. You know, we've been doing the same these last few days. Like, where can we go for a coffee? And you have no idea. So you're looking, you're hunting around to it, and you try and you think, oh, it's rubbish. You know? So, I mean, probably not so much in the UK because you've got kind of established national brands like Starbucks and Costa. You know you can get a coffee from there. Like here, when I ain't seen a Starbucks or a Costa.
Yeah.
Do you have them?
No.
No. It's good.
Very tempting to do it, to say yes. It was like, just down the street, you'll find it. No.
Well, to be fair, I'd rather have that because, like, I'm very much support the independent. Don't these people are making millions and they don't care. They don't care about their customer, and the little independent will. So yeah, it's kind of good. But it's like going back to what I was saying. It's not easy to leave your hometown and fly abroad. But I tell you what, it's exciting doing that.
Yeah.
Getting to see the world, and you know, you just doing what you love doing it.
Yeah.
And then it's crazy when you guys bring loads of fans with you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know how that makes us feel, because like I would talk about like the economy within our hometown, and you guys come in and spend money, good money in our hometown city now. Call it hometown. But the last show, there was a load of fans came in with Doncaster Rovers shirts on, and I was like, oh no, these guys must have been to the game today.
Right.
They'll have had a beer. They're gonna sit. I need to make sure security watch them. It were all Icelandics.
Yeah.
They'd all been to the game and bought a shirt. And I'm like, that's mad.
I've always wanted to do that.
What?
Every time there's a K-Steel event, I always check if Doncaster, the football team, has a match at the same time.
You're going to be an hooligan.
Yeah, I wanted to like kick a trash can and get drunk and all that stuff. But we have to wrap up the show. It's been a very good talk. A pleasure to have you.
Hey, my pleasure. I tell everyone about this. I say I love MMA and I love talking. So to talk about MMA, like my perfect day.
Every day is a birthday. So thank you very much for dropping by. We really appreciate your time. And 7th of December we will be there. We will be hosting a community event. We will be reporting live from the venue. We'll be writing articles. We'll be doing a lot of stuff for the 7th of December, the biggest fighting evening of the year, because we also have our professional boxer, Kolbeinn Kristinsson, will also be fighting on that same evening. Wow. So it's going to be loaded. Yeah. It's going to be loaded.
So can I just say before we go, can I just say a massive thank you to yourselves for hosting me here, for everyone, that's made us so welcome in Iceland these last few days, but mainly to everyone that's ever supported Cage Steel, whether that's just a like on our Facebook post or Instagram, sharing it, commenting, coming to the show, watching it in a pub, supporting the fighters, whatever it is, we are massively grateful for any kind of support that's given. And the Icelandic people have been nothing but amazing in terms of supporting the show, both the fighters and the fans. So it is so appreciated that your country is an amazing country and they come and support our show in Doncaster. So I just want to say a massive thank you to anyone who's done anything to support Cage Steel. I really appreciate it.
Oh, our pleasure, I guess. Yeah. And there's also there's a game going on Facebook and Instagram. You can win 2 tickets to the show. We will have a link in the bio of this episode and post it on all our media and promote the show a little bit more. Because you can win 2 tickets to a VIP table in Doncaster.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah. Flight included, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great game. All right. So, Dom, thank you for coming. And we will see all our listeners on Wednesday when we wrap up the fights during this week.
Yes.
Weekend. Right. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Very good. Well, sorry, I have a meeting.
Hey, all right.
At 1:30.